please give a huge round of applause for Nick Castle and Nancy Stevens. You've ever been to, right?
It's the second best convention. Well, 2 years ago was better so far.
Oh, wow.
Same place.
Up your game, everyone.
Come on already. I met many more people. Oh, I was there for 3 days already, though.
That's good.
This is my first time at this convention, and I found out these. But what really excited me when I found out today is that a lot of the proceeds support the only drive-in that is in all of Illinois. And if we don't keep movie palaces and places to see movies on a big screen alive, you're all going to be too old when the next movie comes out. If you want to. No, it's amazing that somebody is saving a drive-in and making it a cultural happening place. Because I was told they do, they show old films, new films, groups of films together by the same director. So that's a gift. That's incredible.
Definitely. So, as people who have done some of these conventions before, I mean, what does it feel like? Because you're in such a unique position of being such a significant part of not just horror history, but film history. What is that like? I mean, as person after person comes up to you and says, you have no idea how much this movie means to me, you have no idea how much your performance means to me, how much everything you've done for film has meant to me. I mean, I assume it's got to be humbling.
No.
No? Good. No. Okay.
You want to go first?
People always say, do you love horror films? And wasn't this amazing to work with John Carpenter? When we started with John Carpenter, nobody knew who the hell John Carpenter was, and I certainly didn't know as a young actress I would be this many years older with this film kind of defining my career. I mean, I always worked. I did a lot of guest spots on things, and occasionally I'll get a text from someone who's seen a Charlie's Angels, and it's like, what are you doing at 3 o'clock in the morning watching Charlie's Angels? But so it's such a peculiar thing to me sometimes. And I see people that they have their 3 generations of Halloween watchers. Some it's inappropriate for the 5-year-olds, but I'm not the parent. But so, I mean, it's a sort of bizarre thing that this, what I didn't think of as anything but great, this sounds like a cool job. And the big thing was I got to work with Donald Pleasance. That was an incredible gift, and then again worked with him in H2O. So, no, Halloween 2. But I did do H2O. That's it. This has followed me a long way.
How do you, because more than once, obviously, the producers of these movies have come back to you, Nancy, and said, like, hey, will you come be in another Halloween movie? Especially the most recent one, Halloween Kills, you were semi-retired at the time, yes?
That's a bad rumor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read that online, and so I will not take credit for that.
I took a big pivot in my career because I do environmental and climate activism with scientists, and I've got three grandchildren, and it seems my time is much better spent in trying to make people realize the short window we have to get it right. So, no, but if somebody wants to hire me, I'm happy to work. But David called me, the director, and said, Nancy, would you be willing to do Marion again? I said, are you crazy? You killed me. I was killed in H2O. He said, willing suspension of disbelief. And I loved some earlier films of David Gordon Green, so I thought, what an incredible opportunity. And it was shooting in North Carolina, where I have more relatives than anybody, because my father was from there in a family of 13. So it was a great time to spend it in a state that I love, and also with a director who's a magical guy, even though it can be even too violent for me. He's gotten a lot of shit about killing me. That's the...
If he were here, I would be giving him some of that shit. Right. What? Why do they keep bringing you back to kill you?
Yeah.
This is not cool.
I don't like it.
She's so killable.
I don't.
No, I've written a script where Marion actually has a twin sister.
Oh, I love it.
And the twin sister is a welder, and somebody comes to her door, and you don't see until she takes her mask off, and then she grabs a cigarette, and they say, do you know your sister's in trouble? And she says, I'll be right there. So I have a way to bring back.
I love that. This is great.
You know, Corinne Chambers.
Do we have any studio executives in the room right now? No? Okay. I'll find somebody, don't worry. Because I want to see that movie.
Nancy, I'm curious. I mean, you did a lot of
You
TV.
have to ask Nick
So you know what?
something
We'll
first.
get to Nick. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, just on the heels of that, you say you did, like, I think you did soap operas and TV before. Was Halloween your first feature film?
This sounds ridiculous, but I don't remember.
If IMDb can be trusted.
Yeah, I did some of the, I did, and this is, you know, because it's become less a part of my life as my environmental and justice work has become. I think I did a film with Peter Bogdanovich, but that had to be after Halloween.
I'm just curious if you remember jumping from television, which I'm just assuming are sort of like those sets are kind of well-oiled machines, to a set like Halloween, which is a low-budget movie where Jamie Lee Curtis is helping schlep equipment. If there was a big, you know, if there was a big noticeable difference to you.
I love to work.
Yeah, sure.
I love acting. I love films. I love television. I love storytelling. So horror is not my favorite genre. Forgive me. And I know I have to see some of these movies that you all love as much as you love Halloween. So I'm going to make that a priority after we win this election. Storytelling is important, and the opportunity to work with Donald Pleasance, again, who would turn that down?
Did you find working with him, was it intimidating, or did you find comfort in knowing you're working with, you know, he's your scene partner? Like, is it such a, you know, like, did you take comfort in knowing you're working with such a pro? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love Donald. He was so funny and so charming and so supportive of me, and except we were in a car all the time. So there would be a cut, and they'd want to reshoot the scene, and Donald would start telling me stories that were hysterical. And then when they were ready to shoot again, he'd be all ready for the scene, and I'd be going. So I just have such fond memories, and just he was ironic and funny, and an amazing actor who did so many. I mean, he was a daring actor, not necessarily in Halloween, but some of the characters he played in other pictures, he was courageous in his acting.
That's great.
Cool. Nick Castle.
There's only one.
So when you were putting the William Shatner mask on almost 50 years ago, did you think, you know what? In many decades, I'm still going to be sitting here talking about this fucking movie.
As you can imagine, no, I had no idea. I didn't know it was a William Shatner mask, for that matter. Tommy didn't tell me about that until I probably 10 years ago, while I started to do these things, I started getting all the trivia. No, there was no indication at all that this would go viral as it has and make John a household name and make Michael Myers a household name. Gee, my God, he's in. You see him pop up, or at least reference to him in various movies and TV shows and things like that. That's kind of funny. And to be associated with him is strange, fun, and I get to meet all you guys, so that's good.
Also, whenever we talk about Halloween 1 and 2, we have to remember Deborah Hill.
Yes.
Deborah and I did a lot of work together politically. We greened the Clinton White House with a group that we had called the Earth Communications Office. And also, I mean, it was very hard for women to be producers in that generation. So we have to thank Deborah for being incredibly smart and getting a job done, but for John opening that space for her. So I always want her remembered as part of this franchise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike, were you going to ask a question? Oh, yes.
Nick, I was curious. The way the shape moves, is that just how Nick Castle walks, or was that, did you
It is. I saw him kill someone earlier. It was exactly the same.
Asked and answered. Or did you think well, how would this guy walk and move? Because I know
This
John
feels like an interrogation.
Can we make the lights
Getting
brighter?
Where were you? No, it was instinctual. I just I didn't do any practicing. John didn't give me any direction, for God's sake, and I just did what seemed like it was right for the scene. So I did ask John. I've said this a number of times. I did ask John once I realized he was doing a head-to-toe shot and there was walking. He said, "Do you want anything special with this? I mean, this is the first time you're going to see him." And he went, "Just go over there and walk here, man. Shut up and get the thing done. We have another hour of sunlight." No, but it was, and we were old friends from film school, so you could talk that way with somebody. But I think it was just whatever, instinctual. I didn't look at Bela Lugosi or some other classic star. It just came. John now has this. I know he's spoken a number of times that Nick had a kind of natural grace. His dad was a dancer, so he had whatever that was in it, and that's what. I think that was kind of bullshit. Or you get what you get. It is. When I look back at it now, there's something unique about it. I don't quite understand why. But, and I think people kind of gravitate towards it in terms of it.
Do you ever find yourself territorial over the role, like in one of the sequels? Are you ever like, that's not how Michael Myers moves?
No, I don't mind that. It's just when James Jude Courtney makes more money than I do. Very territorial. No, I think everyone does their own. It's fun to see it done again and done differently, and people are shorter, taller. Rob's movies where Tyler was I think he's like 9 feet tall. Somehow grew up a lot. So that's fun. I do, probably because it was me, or probably because I'm egotistical, like the kind of more slender version of the shape. It was something kind of spookier about that. And that happened, by the way, a friend of mine, Bruce Abbott, who you may know from Reanimator. He was trying to get the job of the Terminator before before Arnold did it. He was married, I think, at the time to Linda Hamilton, and he said, and he talked to me about it. He said, I thought of it kind of like you, when you did that, it's like, isn't it scarier if you're not the big bulky guy, but you're some? And then it turned out that they used that idea, I think, for the second one.
Yeah.
Because remember, the guy that comes, he was pretty slender, but he was damn scary, you know. So anyway, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit too about sort of post Halloween, where you write Escape from New York and then start a directorial career of your own, including, we were talking about it before you guys got here, but one of my very favorite movies is The Last Starfighter. That movie means the world to me. How was that transition for you? I mean, obviously, like, you're collaborating a lot with John, and then you branch out onto your own and start doing your own stuff. Was that, did you find that to be easier because of all the collaborating you had done early on?
Oh, yes. It helped quite a bit that John got out of the gate real quick, and he was doing shows that I was either in the background of, a part of, like Dark Star, even Dark Stars,
Yeah.
first one that started as a film school thing, and we were both in film school at the time, directing, both of us, things. And after he got the money to make that into a feature film, I went on the set and helped him with that. And then when he was doing these movies, first one was Halloween, actually, that he was shooting it close to our houses in Laurel Canyon.
Right.
And so I went down to see him while he was setting up some stuff for pre-production, and said, "Hey, John, what about this idea? I stay on the set and watch everything." So it's kind of like, dispel your fears of when you get your big break. And he went, "Okay, but I got an idea," and this is what happened. And so yes, it was great. John's a very smart, talented guy, working with great filmmakers, Dean Cundy and the whole crew. So you got to be around that every day. I did the same thing on Escape, but it didn't have a role, but I was the writer on it. So I went on the sets on that. So these are just great opportunities for any young filmmaker who ever gets the opportunity to get on a set. It's a great experience, a learning experience. It's just not necessarily you're going to take that and that and that, but it's by kind of osmosis. You learn it. You don't have a fear of the set anymore. Usually they have these giant cameras. Those were the scariest things, and that was scarier than Michael. Like, you're going to work with this thing. How do you move that thing? How do you, So that was a great experience. Very helpful.
Is it weird, having written Escape from New York, to watch the world hurtle closer and closer to that reality?
Well, when was Escape supposed to be? 1997? 8? Does anybody know?
97.
Yeah, 97. See, we made it.
Yeah, okay, we did.
Just fine, thank you.
We did it, guys.
Oh no, it's a scary time. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that could, eventually destroy the world. But though, that's what these movies are great, because you can go, it can get you thinking, and as not to scare you necessarily, but to entertain. But also to give you kind of like, oh, interesting. Now let me think about this world in a different way. So that's, hopefully you do that even when you do horror or action. There's quite a bit of a person's of the artist, giving you of himself, and what he's experienced, and you take it for what it is and go on your merry way. But so, and John, of course, is not someone who is out to proselytize, He's a filmmaker working in the genre of the old classic filmmakers like John Ford and Howard Hawks. He has something to say, of course, but he wants to entertain and have a good time, and hopefully you have fun.
I'm always curious, like, when people co-write together. Like, what was that process like for you and John? Was it?
No.
Did you get together and write together? Or?
Yeah, this was a unique experience. I mean, first of all, John wrote Escape from New York right out of college. He wrote a draft of it, and he finished it. He went, no one's going to make this now. It's too expensive. I will never get it done. Put it in the old trunk, close the lid. And then after, I think, the fog, I think it was after the fog, the studio asked him, what else you got? Because we like working with you. And he opened the drawer and pulled out this thing and said, here's the storyline. And they went, whoa, we like that. Now, can we do that? He said, yeah, but it needs work. And so he called me, and when he got the green light from these guys to give him some money to write it, and said, Nick, I'm burnt out from this last 3 years. I need help. Will you help me with this? And I went, of course. And he was very generous, gave me a co-credit and some dough and whatnot. And what we did is we went up to his house. Like I said, we lived close to each other. We'd sit outside by his little pool. and I would have obviously have read the draft and had all these notes, and so we would go scene by scene by scene, and then I would analyze the movie overall, see what's missing and what we could add to it. What I would add to it were things like, you're going to New York, so let's take advantage of all the New York tropes. Yeah. He's got to go to a Broadway play. He's got to do this. He's got to go to Madison Square Garden. So that was something that we collaborated on. Then he would take it and then run with it, with the ideas. I came up with a cabbie, for instance, as a vehicle for him to get around, and then it's perfect because it's New York. And then Ernie Borgnine really had fun with that. So, it was, then that's what made the collaboration work, and I think it made the movie better and it had a little bit more fun in it too, from the original draft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a trivia from that movie, and nobody ever knows. I always say, do you know who killed my character? They go, oh, I don't know. He was the guy who played the agent who shot my character. I say, he's a president's son. They go, what? He was one of Gerald Ford's, some of you are too young. He was President Gerald Ford's son who played the agent. So it's just, that's a little piece. I don't know, maybe you know what happened to his career. He certainly didn't go into politics, and I haven't seen him on the big screen again, but I had 1,000 blood squibs. A blow grazed my face, everything. We did have a crazy guy who did, I don't even, what was it called again? The guy who prepared...
Special effects.
Special effects, but with all of the blood, and somebody pumps it and then it goes off, and this guy loaded everything too much, so I wound up with a few burns on the side of my face as that thing. Yeah, no. Special effects has to be done very carefully when you're doing ammunition.
Yeah.
But I love the. I have to look up his name. I guess somebody can do it in the audience. Google Gerald Ford's son, who was the actor, but who knows what happened to him? But he killed the kamikaze fighter.
When you both came back to the Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, or Halloween 2018 in your case, obviously now you're working with the studio, Universal, Blumhouse. It's not this low budget kind of scrappy thing you had originally done, but what was it like coming back to not only a bigger, more expensive version of what you had done in the 70s and early 80s, but also now you have 40 years of fan Halloween baggage is the wrong word, but there's pressure or expectations. We have to live up to something because this has this huge fan base now. Did you feel any of that on set when you were making the newer films?
The one thing when I read the script, Marion is identified as a chain smoker, and everybody always wants the matches and everything. And I said, David, she has to smoke. I know she can't, let her be in the bar with everybody. And she pulls out a cigarette and somebody has to go, Marion, you can't smoke in here. Or let her just, try to light one. And I said, look, we could just try it. But Universal said, no smoking allowed. Smoking was morally wrong to put in this movie, but you could decapitate your character.
People die in that movie.
the ironies of the studio boss and their morality.
Nick, what exactly, I mean, I know you were involved in those movies. Was it like putting on the suit for one scene? Were you, okay, that's what I kind of thought based on what I had read.
Originally, David called me up to see if I wanted to do it outright, if I wanted to be the Michael in the new thing. And I read the script and I went, hell no. It's like, you need someone like James Courtney who does stunts and is a good actor as well, you know, to do something like that. Because they were throwing chairs at him, they were doing all this stuff. I'm too old for that shit. And also, all I can think of, really all I can think of, not even the chairs was that thing, because there could be a stunt guy doing that part, but was being up at 3 in the morning for, you know, the 4th day in a row, you know, doing night shoots and going like, eh. And so I told David, you know, I think we'd get as much out of this for the fans to have like a scene, you know, to do a cameo. Yeah. That way I can promote the movie and, you know, and stuff like that. What I did on the movie, more than any of that, was David appreciated my work in other movies. And he said, Nick, I'd love you to read the script and give me notes. So I did, you know, I gave him notes. You know, within the context of what he had, I thought there were things that could be worthwhile, you know, improving on. And or I gave him some thoughts on, you know, watch out for this because this could go wrong. And so he, yeah, for all 3 movies, he asked me to be part of the production unofficially. But that was really fun. That was fun because I hadn't done any writing in a long time. And so it was fun to be part of a gang again, a new group. And they were, his crew was wonderful.
Fantastic.
Young group. It reminded me a little bit of the olden days back, you know, 30-year-olds doing all this stuff.
And they all worked together a lot. Yeah. And some of the makeup women were not so young, but were incredible, really incredible. And what I found was so interesting with David, he was a relatively egoless director, and if something wasn't working, he'd have the script. I forget the woman's name. He always wanted to, why isn't this isn't quite working? He had a team that whoever had the right answer was the right answer, and it didn't have to be his, which I found extraordinary. No, he's a wonderful person to. The set was fantastic.
He still shouldn't have killed you. Listen, we are actually out of time, but yes, her twin. Thank you both so much for being here and for talking with us, sharing not just your time, but your work over all these years. Nick and Nancy will be in the dealer's room all weekend long, so make sure you stop by and say hi and get something signed. Thank you again both so much, and thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this was
Thank
fun.
you guys.
Woo! Yeah.
Give it up for Nick Castle and Nancy Stevens, everybody.